Yeah, so we talked about product market fit, and I think we can learn at this cross section. But first question is, what has sort of just dining at restaurants, and that sort of again sort of back to that sort of behavioral economics, observing things. What is that? What lessons have you taken from that, which you've then applied to sort of the growth and the marketing of the business as well?
Well, mate, I think dining at restaurants, firstly, is like fabric of society
Mate,
stuff. Like
same.
this is the first thing. That's why COVID was even scarier. Like, there's nothing that I enjoy more than meeting up with some mates and going to a restaurant and having some wine and having some good food. I think it's like very important generally for restaurants to survive and thrive. What do we take out of it? It's funny. There's a few things that when we're building a tech business, we focus on really heavily. And this is almost the flip side of your question. What do I think? How do I think restaurants could benefit from maybe how things are done in the tech space? One thing that we find really interesting, and we try to build the product in a way that can help restaurants understand this as well. When we're building a tech company, you acquire your customers. It costs some money to acquire that customer, and that just gets them in the door. And then once they're in the door, you're really focused on how often do they repeat? So when do they come back to your product? What frequency do they come back in a period of time, over a month or over a 6-month period? And how much do they spend over that period of time? What's their lifetime value? And I think that's like the only way you could build a tech business is if you knew that. On the restaurant side, we don't have that single customer view. And a restaurant might think they have a customer. So someone that, comes in, they might we're getting closer to it, by the way. The restaurants are getting more and more data. Booking platforms, POS systems are starting to bring all that stuff together. But I think a restaurant might have a customer that they saw once, and it might be a restaurant owner that saw them, said hello. Now that is a customer of mine. What does that customer do from that point onwards is often a little bit of a mystery to the restaurant. And I think it's really interesting now that we're getting to a point where restaurants are getting more data and the technology is enabling them to do this, to have a single customer view so that they know how much money should we be spending on acquiring customers? How often do I need them to come back? And then do I need to incentivize them to come back more often? Is it maybe more valuable for a customer to come back 4 times a month instead of 4 times a year if I take a small hit on my margin each time that they come in? Do I make more margin overall? And
Yeah.
if we get closer to knowing who that customer is in the restaurant space, which I think is definitely coming, it's getting closer and closer, and it's something that we try to help restaurants understand when we're like, they might say, we're doing these offers to fill these tables, but I've had actually this same customer come in now 4 times this month for the offer. And that seems like it's a really bad thing or a really negative thing. I don't want this customer to continue coming in and having 30% off. And I was like, well, that customer A might never have been before. He might have been before, but never been as often. Mm-hmm. How much money each visit are you making after the food cost and the cost of the offer that you're giving? Let's say you're making $30 instead of the $70 if he came in on his own. If he's coming just twice as much as before, he's as good as any other customer, and he's filling tables and creating atmosphere at the same time. Like you kind of flip it to it's like reframing, pure economic benefit, and there's real opportunity there.
Yeah,
there's real opportunity.
That's the thing I was going to ask you is what have been some of the pushbacks or common conceptions or like with your sales guys when you were selling it, of like, actually this isn't a good idea? Because I understand it in principle, it makes total sense, but as you say, and that's why I like to go along with these conversations, you can get into the depths of nuance, which is like, I don't want matey coming in 30% each month. Or sorry, 30% 4 times a month.
Yeah.
Or do you get to a situation of, say they've got a local in the restaurant that they absolutely love, I don't know, Tilly and Mark, a couple with a cute fucking chihuahua, and then some bloke and his missus comes in and they pull out the card and they get 30% off. Does that piss off that customer? Like, what have been some of the objections and how have you swam around them?
That's where the card is beautiful, because it's so discreet and anonymous. No one else knows. The card really allows you to move to. When's the last time you jumped on an airplane?
Mate, ages ago. December.
Did you know the person sitting on either side of you?
No.
Just random people?
Yep.
they 100% paid a different price than what you paid to jump on that flight. Maybe a wildly different price.
Yes.
One of them might have paid half as much as you. Does that piss you off?
No, but I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with the card. But I'll tell you, the biggest objection, the biggest misconception is on the economic side. So because there is so much noise around low restaurant margins, and it's true, a lot of restaurants are suffering from really low net profit margins. At the end of the year, when all of their costs have come through, they might make a couple of % net profit. That's what people hear in the news. That's what people hear in the media, right? It's a low net profit business. And so if that sometimes then confuses people when they say, okay, well, if I made 5% net profit last year, how can I possibly give a 30% offer to get someone in to fill a table? Like, does that mean I'm losing 25% on that table? And the answer that we give and we try and help people understand is that if that customer wasn't coming to sit at that table, they were never going to come. There was $0 there. It doesn't impact your net profit at the end of the year. But if they come, your food cost is 30%, your cost of the offer is 30%, so there's 40% left. Whatever that 40% is, let's call it $40. Let's say they spend $100. Technically, your net profit at the end of the year should be your 5% plus $40.
Yes.
Because it's an incremental customer that you didn't have before, and there is margin. It's this disconnect between what your net profit is, your net margin is, and what your gross margin is.
Yeah. Well, mate, as I said to you, one of your superpowers, I believe, is, and I think we talked about this previously, is like contrarian views, is like looking at problems from the other way around. Or I love sort of behavioural economics. I keep badgering about this, but the perception of value and the way you can sort of almost see it like a special effect or a superpower, like the whole thing of the reason they sell Rolls Royces next to it's like sort of price anchoring. The reason they sell Rolls Royces at yacht shows is a 200 grand, 300 grand Rolls Royce next to a 25 million yacht.
It's nothing.
It looks like fuck all. It looks like a lollipop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
But all they've done is put it there. Same thing what you just said about the plane seats. And it's like, if the restaurants kick the discreetness of it, it's like, well, did you just get a plane? It's like, you just change people's... I think a lot about getting these hard, big ideas, especially B2B ideas off the ground, is you just have to basically change people's context and anchoring, and then it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You know what's absolutely mental, mate? London is literally the greatest foodie city in the world, with so many absolutely banging, delish restaurants opening on the reg. I absolutely love it. But look, let's get real. There's lots of times where tables are still sat empty, when your favourite spot is silently struggling. And look, every single table counts. Everyone needs solutions, and they need solutions very fast. And that, my friends, is where EatClub comes in. EatClub is a profitability tool created by hospitality insiders, including the absolute Don, Marco Pierre White. EatClub gives top bars and restaurants control of a new stream of quality paying customers to fill those quiet times. No faff, no upfront costs, only upside. Look, if you're in hospitality and you want bums on seats when you need them most, please drop the founder Pan or the VP of the UK Liz, both absolute legends. Drop them an email, fillmytables@eatclub.co.uk, fillmytables@eatclub.co.uk. That will get you straight through to them and they can help. Please, let's turn those empty tables into profit.